The First Crusade, the first epic, written in blood, 1096–1099. On a frigid November day in 1095, on the wind-swept plain of Clermont, tens of thousands of souls stood breathless as Pope Urban II raised the cross to the heavens and thundered, "Deus lo vult, God wills it." That shout crossed the Alps, echoed along the Rhine and the Danube, and shook the very shores of the Bosphorus. A fire that had slumbered for 2 centuries in Europe's veins suddenly roared into flame. Peasant, knight, duke, count, monk, harlot, pilgrim, every one of them began to chant the same cry, "To Jerusalem! To the Holy Sepulchre!" And they took to the roads. The madness of the people. Peter's army. The first wave came unarmed. Peter the Hermit, little Pierre, set out from the Rhineland with a goatskin on his back and fire in his eyes. At his side rode Walter sans avoir, Walter the penniless. Behind them marched 100,000 souls, women, children, the old, the blind. Most carried only sickles, clubs, perhaps a dagger. "God will protect us!" they roared. Along the Rhine they slaughtered Jews. "We are cleansing the killers of Christ," they said. The king of Hungary drove them from his land. In Bulgaria, hunger began. When they finally reached Anatolia, the Seljuk Sultan Kilij Arslan, he laughed and said, "What strange pilgrims these are." October 1096. They camped at Siveto. One dawn, a cloud of dust rose on the horizon. Seljuk horsemen, bows drawn, swords unsheathed. In a single hour 40,000 people were cut down. There were so many bones that the Turks later gathered them to build the walls of a fortress. Peter the Hermit escaped alone to Constantinople. The fire in his eyes had turned to ash. The people's crusade was finished. Now came the true storm. Second, the March of the Knights, 4 great dragons, autumn 1096. Europe's foremost terrifying armies set forth one by one. Godfrey of Bouillon, Duke of Lower Lorraine, the golden-haired giant, calm, almost saintly. At his side his brother Baldwin, bold and hungry-eyed. Raymond of Saint-Gilles, Count of Toulouse, old, one-eyed, stubborn as a wolf, leading the proud Provençal knights sworn to the Pope. Bohemond of Taranto, Norman prince, tall, devilishly cunning, beautiful as an angel. With him his nephew Tancred, young, savage, unstoppable. Robert Curthose, Duke of Normandy, eldest son of William the Conqueror, proud, fat, yet brave. Their armor blazed like the sun. The thunder of their horses' hooves shook the earth. Each took his own road to Constantinople. The Byzantine Emperor, Alexios I Komnenos, trembled. "These are not pilgrims. They are invaders." He exacted an oath from every leader. Whatever lands they conquered would be returned to Byzantium, they swore. But in the knights' eyes only one city burned, Jerusalem. Third, the fall of Nicaea and the fire of Dorylaeum, May 1997, before the walls of Nicaea. The Seljuk capital ringed with marble walls beside a lake. When the Crusaders arrived, Kilij Arslan was far away. The city surrendered, but the Byzantine banner was raised. The knights raged. "We shed our blood, and they take the prize." On 21st June, they marched out of Nicaea and struck into the heart of Anatolia. 1st July 1097, Dorylaeum. Seljuk riders charged like lightning. The sky darkened with arrows. The Crusaders were encircled. 3 days without water, they drank the blood of their horses. Then Bohemond's Normans roared. Godfrey's Lorraine knights charged, and the Turks were stunned. These iron-clad monsters would not break. The Seljuks scattered. The road across Anatolia lay open, but tens of thousands of corpses lined the way. Vultures danced along the roadside. Imbros Antioch, 8 months in hell, October 1097, before Antioch. The strongest walls in the world, 400 towers. The Crusaders laid siege. Winter came, snow, famine, plague. They ate human flesh. Knights slaughtered their own horses. One night Tancred climbed the walls alone. They thought him lost, but he returned at dawn, his sword dripping blood. February 1098. Yagisian's vast army arrived from outside the city. The Crusaders were trapped between 2 forces. They were on the verge of surrender when Bohemond bribed an Armenian tower commander with gold. On the night of 3rd of June, the gates opened. The knights poured in. Slaughter began in Antioch. 10,000 Turks fell. Yet 4 days later, Kaboga's main army arrived. The Crusaders were starving, exhausted, barely 20,000 left. Just when all seemed lost, a Provençal peasant claimed to have found the Holy Lance, a rusty iron spearhead buried in the earth. Became Bohemon's, he forgot his oath. "This is mine," he declared. The road to Jerusalem. The final march through the desert, January 1099. They left Antioch. Only 13,000 remained, barely 1,300 knights, the rest barefoot pilgrims. Castles fell along the way. At Ma'ara, the hunger was so terrible, they boiled and ate the corpses of dead Muslims. One priest chronicler wrote, "We even feared we would cook our own children." 7th June, 1099, Jerusalem appeared. Its walls and golden dome shone on the horizon. The Crusaders fell to their knees and wept. But the Egyptian Fatimids had only just seized the city. The gates were barred. 15th July, 1099, the Day of Blood. Siege towers were built. On the night of 13th of July, the assault began. Arrows rained, boiling oil poured, stones crushed. On 14th of July, Godfrey's tower reached the northern wall. Godfrey was the first across, then Tancred, then everyone. When the city fell, the massacre began. Muslims, Jews, even Eastern Christians. No distinction was made. The streets became rivers of blood. On the Temple Mount, the blood rose to the knees, men said. The Jewish synagogue was set alight with its people inside. 70,000 souls perished, it is claimed. The next morning, the knights entered the Church of the Holy Sepulchre barefoot, weeping in prayer. Their hands were still red with blood. Godfrey knelt. They wished to name him King of Jerusalem. He refused. "There is only one king here, and he reigns from heaven," he said. He accepted only the title, Defender of the Holy Sepulchre. Epilogue. The first epic ends. The legend is born by late summer 1099. Most of the knights boarded ships for home. Godfrey remained with just 300 knights and 2,000 foot soldiers. 1 year later, in July 1100, Godfrey died. His brother Baldwin took the crown. He became the first true king of Jerusalem. When the news reached Europe, church bells rang for days. Songs were sung, epics composed. Yet on the Anatolian steppes, amid the ruins of Antioch, in the blood-soaked streets of Jerusalem, another epic was being written. Seljuk, Turkoman, Arab, all asked the same question. Who were these Franks, and why do we know they will return? For the First Crusade was not merely a victory, it was a beginning, and that cross still burned on the horizon, like a crimson, crimson fire.